Screen. All right, let's see here. And Brian will present, and then there will be time for some questions. And if we need to post something later that goes into more detail about a question you have, we can definitely do that. Our earlier session, I know we talked about working on an FAQ that we would post as well. So we'll be sure to do that. We are officially recording, it looks like. Yes. Okay. All right. So a little bit about Brian. He is the Senior Director for Learning Partnerships. And what's great is he's got a great background that helps, really do the work he's doing right now. He began his career as a freelance editor and director before transitioning into post-production workflow training, curriculum design, and now program management. He leverages his industry and classroom experience to help develop engaging programs and impactful partnerships. So without further ado, I'm going to stop sharing so that you can share. All right. And it is all yours, Brian.
All right, let me just make sure I get this set up properly. And oops, I think I should
Okay.
go. I'm going to reshare one more time here. Okay, is that coming through? Can you see my screen okay?
Yes, so preparing student for film and TV.
Excellent, perfect. And let me just make sure I can bring the video panel back so I can see everyone who is with us on video. There we go. All right, well, I was going to say good afternoon. I guess it's still morning. Good morning, everyone. Carrie, I'm a bit more caffeinated on this one than I was on the last one, so
Awesome.
a little higher energy. It is a pleasure to be with everybody here today. Thank you, Carrie, for the opportunity to present about the AVID Learning Partner Programs. As Carrie said, my name is Brian Castle. I'm the Senior Director of our programs globally. I do have a team that works under me, so I don't have to do all of the work alone, thankfully. But oftentimes I'm the one who gets to come out and share information about our programs. I've structured our time here in this presentation as follows. Just first, who is AVID? That's a basic question that oftentimes has to be answered. Then a little bit more kind of an overview of the AVID learning programs, deeper dive into curriculum and certification, which is really kind of the heart and soul of this program, and really of key interest typically to teachers in thinking about what would it look like to take this on, because that's how you're going to be spending your days and time in the classroom. We will touch on pricing. I'm not going to go too deep into that, but we can touch on it at a high level. And then likewise at a high level, what does it look like to get started? And what does that time frame typically look like? So first off, who is AVID? If you are familiar with film and television, especially on the post-production side, then you probably have heard our name. We are most commonly known for our flagship products of Media Composer for film and TV editing, also Pro Tools for music and sound production, and Sibelius for music notation. We do offer quite a range of other systems, and that includes network storage and asset management, all these big enterprise systems that are used in major media enterprises around the world. But we are most commonly known or associated with the names of those flagship products: Media Composer, Pro Tools, and Sibelius. I'm going to talk mostly about Media Composer. But in terms of who AVID is in the industry, and why your students should know about AVID, really what it comes down to is, we have built our reputation, we've built our business on meeting the needs of large enterprise customers. So we serve, really the high end. You'll find us in local TV stations, in station groups, where they'll be cutting the news on Media Composer, but you'll also find us in studios and, in post-production houses around the world. This is just a sampling of the big name companies that have chosen to standardize on AVID. And from an educational perspective, when you think about preparing your students to go to work in the industry, you think about the skill set that you want them to have and what those job opportunities are. It's very easy to find names on this map, even with just a sampling of those types of organizations that you want to prepare your students to be working for. And by giving them these skills, to work with the very tools and understanding the workflows that these big companies are using, it really does prepare them to go in and confidently say, yes, I know that, and I'm ready to come to work. The certification that comes with these programs is really in demand by these industries or by these companies. And one of the things that we've been hearing really a theme lately is that students come out great. There's a lot of students who are interested in media today, but they're really coming out of school lacking the skills to come to work at the professional level using the tools that our customers use. While there's a lot of other companies out there that make creative tools, and it's great for the students to maybe even get started on those, the reality is there's a real opportunity for them if they know AVID tools as they're heading out into the workplace. Here's just another marketing slide, just about the penetration of AVID. All of the major film studios, overwhelming majority of international news networks, station groups, same thing. And I talked about this in the previous presentation. On the music side, the majority of what we hear on streaming platforms and over the radio is all being done on AVID tools. So, when you look beyond just kind of the bedroom creative, and you take a good look at the industry and what's in demand out there, you'll find AVID is a dominant player. Just as we have a global customer base, so too do we have a global education channel. So if you think about joining this program, you are certainly not alone. We have well over 600 colleges, universities in the program, a good number of high schools as well. I think we're still less than 100, but those numbers are climbing with each passing year, which is exciting, as more and more high schools are looking at adopting these programs in a way that they're serious about preparing students for work in industry with either a college or career pathway. The dominance of higher ed in our current partner membership or roster is actually a huge advantage to you when you're thinking about this at the high school level, because in fact, and I'll talk more about this later, what we're seeing is that as more and more high schools come in, they're setting up articulation agreements, and there's opportunities for students to go from that high school program where they get their initial certification on into the community college or four-year program of their choice, and that becomes a seamless progression for them. Just to illustrate that point, here's a small sampling of our US schools. And you'll see everything again from a municipal high school on up through some very recognizable names in film and TV. Chapman University, Cal State LA, UCLA, Georgia Film Academy, NYU Tisch School of the Arts, Savannah College of Art and Design, on and on. There are lots of universities where, as your students think about where they want to go in pursuing this, if they're choosing to go on to higher ed, there's a good chance that a school of interest to them is already a member of the Learning Partner Program. And again, creates that opportunity
AVID.
for them. Whoops, forgot that was on autoplay. Creates that opportunity for them, to continue into that program. I will play a short video just to illustrate the point, and then we'll continue on with the details.
AVID has been delivering the tools that enable creatives in film, television, music, and sound for over 30 years. The AVID Learning Partner Program offers a complete educational support package for higher education, including deeply discounted licenses, teacher training, and a broad range of operational certification courses to help you prepare emerging creatives on Media Composer, Pro Tools, and Sibelius. Now, AVID is partnering with Rowman and Littlefield to launch the AVID Learning Academy, delivering high schools a ready-made curriculum aligned to the National Core Arts Standards to build employable skills and grant students a credential for articulation into post-secondary study. Together, AVID Learning programs offer a seamless pathway from high school through higher ed and into an industry that relies on AVID tools to inform, entertain, and dazzle audiences now and into the future. Discover the many possibilities for your institution through the AVID Learning Partner Programs.
All right, so what does it look like a day in the life of your AVID Learning Partner? Well, this is it. So if this looks familiar, you're in a good place. It is a teacher in a classroom teaching students how to work with AVID tools to go to work in the media industry. So whether you are focused specifically on film production, if your program is more film or cinema oriented, or if you're more on kind of the multimedia video side or TV production, kind of wherever it fits, this program really can accommodate your needs. As alluded to in the video, there are the 4 kind of key benefits or value propositions of this program. Is that certification credential for students that means so much going out into industry to help them get that first job. But most importantly, of course, the skill set underneath it that prepared them to achieve that certification, that validation. The pre-built curriculum that we offer does all of the heavy lifting for you. And it does come complete with all of the media resources for the students to have hands-on exercises, the teacher training to ensure that you guys are prepared and able to effectively teach these courses. And then, of course, the software discounts that come with this, making the program more accessible. Or if you are one of those schools that already is using Media Composer, for example, the discounts that come for this program actually can free up some of those budgetary dollars to allow you to invest in additional hardware. Because yes, being a learning partner makes our products even cheaper than just the educational discounts that we offer generally. So it's hands down the most cost-effective way to be using our stuff. Okay. In terms of okay, great. Understand this is about, preparing students for certification. What does that really look like? What do I have to teach? How much do I have to teach? And, what does certification look like? What is that process and all of that? So that's what I want to dive into, try to answer the majority of those questions off the bat. And, there is plenty of time for Q&A at the end. So as mentioned, we have a full curriculum that prepares students for certification. And, the certification at the end is what drives the value. Recently, we have pivoted in the last couple of years to doing all enriched online content. For this program started in the mid 90s. It looks very much the way that it did today by, just after the early 2000s and the aughts. And so all through that time, we had printed books, and then we evolved to ebooks. And most recently, really accelerated by the pandemic, we've pivoted to fully enriched online content. We do still have printed books available. We do still have downloadable ebooks. And there are some use cases that we can talk about in which those may be more useful. But this is the dominant way that the majority of our partners are now using our content, and it offers the best experience both for the students and for the teachers. This is a 1-minute video. I will take the time to play this, and then we'll talk more about AVID Learning Central.
Educators know students are hungry for knowledge. With ever-changing technologies and tools, how do students and educators keep up? With AVID Learning Central, the essential companion of any AVID instructor-led course, AVID Learning Central keeps students and educators up to date and on track anytime, anywhere, on any device. From hands-on in the classroom to developing deeper skill sets of the tools used by professionals in the industries, AVID Learning Central provides full, in-depth courses, plus snackable learning to help students reach their potential with our award-winning tools, Media Composer, Pro Tools, and Sibelius. Detailed courses provide interactive learning, exercises, and knowledge checks, keeping students on track. With AVID's comprehensive content library at your students' fingertips, you can explore additional skills and interests, including graphics, newsroom, and technical content. Your students can develop the skills needed in the competitive world or train for roles seamlessly with an extensive catalog designed to help any learner succeed. See how far they can go with automated enrollments and detailed reporting at every step. Set your students in motion for a lifetime of learning. Put the power of learning in the palm of their hands with AVID Learning Central.
So to be very clear, AVID Learning Central is the name that marketing gave to our online learning platform. It is a subscription offering, and we've taken the approach of Netflix that, with that subscription, you gain access to everything in the library that is there available for your students. As you can see here on in this screenshot, it's a simple to use interface. It's a modern LMS that will host all of the content, and your students will sign in. It offers the ability for you to assign courses to your students. So if there's particular courses you want them to go through, you can sign them up for it so that when they log in, that's exactly what they see. Everything they need is right in front of them, as well as the ability for them to go into the library and search for additional content. The nice thing for teachers about this platform is that, given the broad range of content that we have, it really does allow you to customize the learning experience of your students. So there are the core courses, which we'll talk about in just a minute, that lead to certification, but you can augment those and you can really tailor the experience of the student in your particular class. If you are more TV oriented, if you are more, let's say, film oriented, and you want to empower your students with more training on visual effects, for example, you could assign them additional videos within the platform for them to go through, or just point them out, even if it's not a requirement in your class. We all have those, those one or two students who are just those rock stars. You can't give them enough information, and being on a platform like this really allows you to tailor that experience for them and keep them engaged and getting enough of information that they need. And it's all included. There's no extra cost. I think perhaps the most important thing about utilizing Avid Learning Central as compared to, let's say, ebooks or printed books is that it offers a very mobile-friendly experience where you have interactive elements, you have videos and everything that just all of the content adjusts to the smaller screen. But also, for example, if you click on a video, just automatically pops up full screen, plays back. It's a very intuitive experience for the students. Now, because this is such rich content, the other thing that it does, and this is even more important, I think, at the high school level than for our college and university partners, is that it does the heavy lifting of presenting that information to the students, and it also enables them to consume it in small chunks that are very engaging. As students grow, they get older, they mature, their attention span does grow with it. But especially at that younger level, you want to make sure that the content is engaging to them and can be consumed in just the right amount. So it's very snackable in that regard. As I mentioned, we have all of the content in there. I have to keep updating this slide. It's actually aging. This is October's numbers, and as of January, I'm going to have to update this because these numbers keep climbing, and I have to be careful that these don't get too out of date. For context, I think we started last year with just over 400 hours in the library. So in the course of 1 year, we've nearly doubled the size of the content library as we continue to build that content. This is the content that goes in here, though, does run a broad range. It includes structured courses as well as the videos that I mentioned. So you have that, those kind of smaller, more tailored pieces that are focused on particular aspects of the software, a particular aspect of a given workflow. The structured courses, though, are the ones that lead to certification. And so much of what we've done in this program over the years, like I said, we actually started our certification programs in the mid-90s, back when Avid was a hot young startup disrupting the industry with our new digital technology. But we started our certifications back then, and over the years, we have honed them to work in the education space. And so much of that comes down to the flexibility that we offer to teachers and how they run those classes and present that material, as well as, within kind of the broader program planning, how they choose to take students through all of the content needed for certification. The fact that you don't take one class that leads to certification is a key part of that. We've chosen to break up our certification requirements into 2 structured courses. And at the high school level, the most common implementation is to run the 101, which is the course represented on the left, in 1 year, and the 110 in the following year. But we have plenty of high schools that also do both of those in one single year, where they'll teach the 101 in the first semester. They'll teach the 110 in the second semester. Well, what are these classes and what are you teaching? The Fundamentals 1, or the MC 101 class, is about a 20-hour class. I think it's actually about 18, but about a 20-hour class. And it takes the students all the way through kind of just the very basics of getting into the software and understanding how to use it. So they learn how to create a project. Well, first of all, open the software, get things set up, create a project, bring in their media, do some basic editing, get it into the timeline, trim it up, put on some effects, adjust the audio, all those kind of, just basic things. and then spit it out, right? So export that for whatever format they're going to share it in. So if they're going to post it to YouTube, if they want to put it up on social media, kind of whatever those parameters are. There's some basic learnings that go with that. They have to understand file formats. They have to understand where the media goes. And so we cover all of the absolute basics in that 101 class. At the end of it, the student is able to produce projects. And so, thinking about where you position that in your program, if you position it, let's say in the first semester and choose to use the rest of that year just for project work, the students have an opportunity to continue to practice those skills, right? The 110 builds on those. It starts to teach more advanced functions. It also starts to broaden their perspective on what it is to be a post-production professional. So it teaches them the skills associated with being an assistant editor or a post PA, for example, where they're going to be responsible maybe for ingest, for transcoding media from a variety of formats, doing the work to prepare the project and the bins that would be handed over to a more senior editor. So again, preparing the student for work in the industry by broadening and deepening their skill set, understanding what it is to work in a professional environment. At the end of that, and with the certification, they really are ready for that entry-level job, again, either as a post-PA or an assistant editor or something like that. They certainly would have the skills to be working on their own projects, but really by nature of kind of who we are in the industry and the types of careers you'd be preparing them for, the common career path is that they're actually going to work in a supervised environment as an entry-level individual. Now, all of our course content is available. You can sign up to AVID Learning Central. Even without being a learning partner, you can buy our ebooks off the AVID website. But most importantly, the certification that comes with this, that validation that industry looks for, is available only through the AVID Learning Partner Program. It's through this program that we maintain the training and the controls of having a certified instructor in place, that we ensure that that student has achieved all of those skills and competencies, and we validate it through that certification process. So certification is more than just a piece of paper that they get. It is actually at this point a digital credential that is delivered to them through the dominant credentialing platform out there today called Credly. Many companies use Credly for delivering their credentials. Adobe is one that you may know. Of course, IBM and Amazon and ForgeRock and lots of other companies in the tech space are using Credly to deliver their credentials. So it really has become the industry standard at this point. These credentials are kind of, exactly what you would want them to be in today's day and age, right? They are very easily shared to all of the social platforms, from LinkedIn to Twitter to Facebook. I guess I need to call it X now. It's not Twitter. But any of the platforms, it can be put on signatures, it can be downloaded and put on business cards if anyone still uses those, as well as being put onto a printed certificate. Other cool aspects, though, about this platform, and one of the reasons that we went with it, is they actually, as AVID builds these credentials, and we articulate what are the skills that are associated with this credential, what has this learner demonstrated. Credly maps that through a variety of job sites to jobs that are out there. And so students can actually utilize this platform to go looking for jobs that they can see that are matched to these credentials. It also gives employers an encrypted, blockchain encrypted, verifiable way to validate that student's credential. It's not just that, hey, they grabbed that screenshot and started using that graphic on their stuff. The employer can actually come in and verify, where did they achieve that credential? Who was the school that delivered it to them? When was it earned? All of those kinds of things. Question came up in the Q&A last time about these expiring. They don't expire, but they are tied to a particular version of the software or the given year in which they were earned. And so while the credential is never taken away from that individual, obviously over time it ages and so has less value, which we would expect that that individual to be going on to higher level certifications, or just refreshing their their knowledge and their recertifying on a newer version. Speaking of higher level certifications, on the Media Composer side, we actually have a professional level certification as well. So as your students continue on either into industry or going on to a more advanced program in higher ed, they could very well be going on to the professional level certification. Just as the specialist level certs prepare students for work in entry-level positions where they're being supervised by other more senior post professionals, the professional level certifications prepare them with the skills needed to be that professional, that they are the primary creative in that shop, in that studio, and they're actually the ones doing that work. So a media composer professional is typically the lead editor on the project, whereas the specialist is the assistant. As I mentioned before, we have a majority of our learning partners around the world are in the post-secondary space. So again, as your students think about going on to higher ed, this presents a unique opportunity for them and for you to build those articulation agreements. We have a good number of schools in California, in Maryland, we have one that's getting started in Pennsylvania with articulation agreements. Some of them are from high school going into community college, for example. In California, we have a good number of institutions that are doing the community college up to four-year state school. And it's all because of the way that we've built this curriculum as a progressive curriculum where the lower level courses and certifications are prerequisites to the upper ones. By standardizing on that common core of content, and then the flexibility that comes with our program where you can build that out and shape it into, into the program that you need it to be, whether it's, again, more film, more TV, more video, more whatever. It really does allow quite nicely for those articulation agreements because it's easy to demonstrate, yes, everything that we've done at this level leads into what would be done at the next level with that other institution. There's a lot of content here. I'm realizing how much I've already thrown at you, but just to wrap it up, we don't just kind of hand you these materials. You guys are educational professionals. You would get up to speed easily enough. But a part of this program is that we want to ensure that you have the operational skills, but also, just that solid understanding of the course materials, of certification, of the requirements, so that you can very effectively implement this from your first time. And that your first go at taking students through this isn't, kind of learning on the job. So we do offer instructor enablement through a full certification process. And as I mentioned, it does focus on kind of that full range. We want to make sure that you know these products and you're very comfortable using Media Composer so that you can explain it well and demonstrate it well to your students, but also that you understand the design and use of the course content. So the books, the exercises, the demo materials. It is a full resource pack, everything all the way through to demo sequences that can be used in presenting the lessons that are different from the exercise sequences that the students are using. That as you're taking students through, oftentimes you want to be able to show, hey, if you've built it to this point, because, as they go through the exercises, it builds progressively. If you've built it to this point, here's what you're going to see, or here's an opportunity that you may have, for example, in how you shape a scene. So all of that is in there, and we take you through learning to use all of that. We also talk about implementation strategies, what it can look like in different types of programs, and teaching best practices in how you're leading these classes. Of course, we prep you for the exams, but we also talk about how you're preparing your students for those exams as well. It should be noted that as you go through this process, you will become certified as a specialist yourself. So you will carry the same certification that your students have, as well as earning the corresponding instructor level certification. So to teach the specialist classes, it is instructor level 1. My screenshot happens to show instructor level 2, which is correlated to the 200 level courses or those professional certifications that I mentioned. The process of getting instructor certified is roughly a 6-week process. And that includes some asynchronous kind of prep work that you would do on your own. A question came up in the last session. What if somebody is already really experienced in your software? Does it still take 6 weeks? And the answer is no. If they already know the software very well, they can skim very quickly through those materials. There is a 1-week virtual instructor-led workshop. It's about 24 hours. It's about 6 hours a day. In going through that, That's really kind of the dominant time commitment, is that 1 week that you would need to do that certification. But we say it's 6 weeks because there's some time before and some time afterwards. Now, if you don't know our products at all, you will probably want to get up to speed on them, and we can talk about how we can do that. We do offer resources to enable teachers to do that in advance of coming into this class. But the prerequisites are that you either have a year of experience on our tools or several years of experience on a competitor app. At the end of the day, a nonlinear editor, which is what Media Composer is, Adobe Premiere, DaVinci Resolve, Final Cut Pro, there's lots of them out there, but there's some commonalities to all of them. So we'll help you translate that experience from a competitive app, if that's where the majority of your experience is. Bring it over to Media Composer, understand how to do those same things, and in no time, you'll be up and running on Media Composer. Okay, let's talk briefly about pricing and benefits. And again, I'm happy to dig more into this offline. And really what that comes down to is, wanting to be able to speak specifically to the use cases that you may have, or your own particular situation, of like how many students, how many classroom workstations, those kinds of things. The benefits of the program are fairly broad. There's a number of them that come with it. You become an official learning partner. One of the things that, so you're listed on our website and, set up in all of our systems so that you're able to deliver your certification exams. I don't think I mentioned that in this session, but as a learning partner school, you do not send your students to a different institution or a different testing center. You administer the exams directly, which is just from a convenience perspective fantastic. You're able to set up, schedule those exams for the students, even schedule the retakes as needed. On your own time and in your own facility. In fact, and I don't think I mentioned this yet in this session either, apologies, with the purchase of the course content, and every student does need to have the course materials, that's kind of a given, but whether it's printed books, ebooks, or AVID Learning Central, it includes the certification exam. So it's kind of an all-inclusive bundled price, if you think of it that way. It is approximately $100 per student, for the course materials and certification. Okay, so there's a price point for you. What else comes with being a member of the community of being a certified instructor? Every certified instructor gets their own access to AVID Learning Central. Every certified instructor gets their own copy of the software separate from the institution. They also get instructor recertification included as a benefit to the school. So there is a cost to getting certified initially, but that to maintain your certification is free of charge. It's included as a benefit of the program. Now, the software itself has a cost. Whoops, I seem to have missed it. Let's make sure we get back to the right place. Apologies. There we go. AVID standard EDU pricing, right? The discounts that we offer, like Media Composer, for example, is $400 a year per seat just for standard Media Composer. Ultimate costs more than that. But for educational institutions, it's $100 per seat per year. So if you have a 10-station lab, it'd be $100 per station, or $1,000. If you have a 25-station lab, you're talking, 25 stations, $100 each, $2,500. So that's AVID standard educational pricing for our products. Under this program, you can get those same 25 stations for $1,875. And so that's about a 25% discount. So it's a nice bit of savings there. Now, if, for example, you're running a multimedia program, I was just talking to a high school right before Christmas about this, running a multimedia program, and her program focuses on sound for picture. So they shoot their video and then they do all of the sound editing on it. And so we were talking about how they can use AVID products for that. They're using Pro Tools now for all of their sound editing. In a situation like that, where you're using multiple products, Media Composer and Pro Tools, well, you would be able to receive both of those for the same price of $1,875. It's not $1,875 each. it's $18.75, and now you're getting 2 products instead of 1. Okay, so we're all familiar with the idea the more you buy, the cheaper it gets. Well, in this program, the more you teach, the cheaper it gets. Okay, so those seats of licensing can include Media Composer, Pro Tools, and Sibelius. Now, teacher certification. I don't have this on a slide, apologies. That was asked in the last session. Teacher certification is $1,495, $1,495. And if you sign up more than 6 weeks in advance, you get a $100 discount for your early bird pricing. So it's $1,395. And again, you can view that pretty much as a one-time cost because ongoing recertification, update training and recertification is included. Now, I already mentioned a price point for students, approximately $100 per student, including course content and exams. Okay. So there's some price points for you to calculate kind of your own thinking on, what your program might be. But like I said, these conversations in terms of what the actual pricing would be for your program, better to have kind of individually. I will say, and I don't think I mentioned this in the last one, Carrie, so we should add this to the notes of the other session. But the minimum minimum package in this program starts with 10 seats for $850. So minimum cost on the program is 10 seats, $850. Okay. In terms of what it looks like, you're thinking, hey, this all sounds great. Need a few more details, but we think we may want to do this. What does it look like for us to get started? It's a relatively simple process. I've already kind of alluded to the key components here. We need to set up the institution, and that might be your individual high school. More commonly at the high school level, we're signing with the district. So, we do the paperwork to sign up the institution, whatever that means, as an official learning partner, and there's the payment of annual fees. And with that comes the licensing for the classrooms. There's also the instructor certification piece. So the teachers attend the training, they get certified. And once we have those 2 components in place, we have a functional learning partner who can train and certify students. Those 2 requirements, though, there's no prerequisite one that has to precede the other. They do not have to be completed in order. These can be happening in parallel. Now, commonly, conversations that I'm having in January are typically about the coming school year. So one of the things that is nice to do is here in the spring or early summer, we'll work on teacher training, even as we're starting to talk about contracting. And, for example, if teachers have an opportunity in the spring to get trained, it's that much more time on the tool, that much more experience, that much more time with the course content to do the class planning for next year. And then frequently we'd be contracting and you'd be paying fees over the summer so that we're getting all the licensing and everything in place for the coming school year. But really, it's just whatever order of events makes the most sense. If you do happen to be a school that's already using Media Composer, and let's say you have licenses coming up for renewal, which can happen here in the January timeframe, it might be worth having a quick conversation about jumping into the program, saving a little bit on those licenses that could go into the teacher training. And that's another example of kind of how this can work. But in any case, I think I've covered all of the key points. I'm a little bit later on this session. Carrie, I think I've answered some of the Q&A questions that we got last time.
You did. Nice.
But I'll pause there. I mean, I can talk about this stuff for hours, but let me pause and see what questions are out there. Are the content standards connected to Ohio's content standards? I see this here from Beth in the chat. We've aligned to the National Core Arts Standards. I'll be honest, I don't know how that aligns to Ohio's. But we have aligned to the National Core Arts Standards. For my information, is there alignment between Ohio and National Core? Or are you guys doing your own thing? I don't want to open a can of worms here.
That's a great question. I'm like, oh, I don't know.
Okay. Okay. Well, we can certainly, we can provide whatever information we need, so that you could do that analysis. I know that the credentials themselves have been recognized in the state of Ohio, um, as being valid credentials for workforce development and recognized by industry. And Carrie, did we settle that question of how many points are associated with the earning of a credential?
So there's so many on there
Okay.
that AVID offers. I think digging into them. So what I was going to do is after this, email you what's listed. And then maybe that would help define when we post this back on the website of which one, with what you've shared, with how it's titled, what's the correlation? So I think
Okay.
that's where they're like, ooh, I'm not sure, right?
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions that I can answer for right now? As Carrie said, we'll post some additional resources to go along with the recording. I've already provided a copy of this deck. Carrie, I don't think there's been significant changes.
No.
I think it's the same as what I provided before.
Yeah.
So we'll provide a copy of the deck in PDF format. My contact info will be made available if anyone would like to schedule time with me. Certainly, especially around pricing. That's an area that, as I alluded to in the presentation, pricing is scalable based on the number of computers that need to be covered by software, as well as the number of students. We can work through those details together so that you understand kind of the full scope of what the cost implications of this would be. But then certainly if there's other questions about course content, we do have course outlines, table of contents, those kinds of things up on the AVID website that I can point you to, as well as more information about the certifications themselves. We can overload you with details to answer whatever question you need.
It's a fair statement. I like it.
Right.
All right. I'm going to put in the chat here if you need a certificate from attending or you want to give feedback or both. Let's see. That is in there. And then a reminder, we do have more sessions going on this afternoon. I'm going to stop recording. Okay. Maybe. Oop. Okay. We're stopped. And then that recording will also be posted. So I appreciate everyone listening. And then we will put the credential information up on the website as soon as we figure that out as well. All right.
Well, Carrie, thank you again for the opportunity to present.
Oh, thank you. This is exciting. The videos are like, ooh, I want to do that, but it's a little late in my career, so we'll just stop that. Stop that. But I'm like, this is really relevant with all the things people are seeing, on social media and the industry just in general. So really, really good stuff.
Excellent. All right.
All right.
Well,
Have a
thanks
great day,
again.
everybody.
Have a
You're
good day.
welcome. Bye.